What is up, guys? Delboy here, bringing you my prediction video for Marat Gassiiev versus Aleksandar Usik. This fight is the final of the World Boxing Super Series, the Cruiserweight tournament, and it is also a Cruiserweight unification fight. All four major titles are on the line, so the winner becomes undisputed Cruiserweight champion. Tremendous fight. I have to say, this is the fight that I'm really looking forward to most this year. Firstly, I'm a big fan of both guys. I really respect Aleksandar Usyk's journey from prospect to contender to champion. I mean, look at Usyk's journey. You know, he won his title in Poland against Krzysztof Glowacki, who is a good cruiserweight champion, a puncher, undefeated, went to his backyard and beat him. He then went to America twice in a row. He beat the South African contender Mchunu, and after that he beat the former US Olympian Michael Hunter. So he won his world title in the champion's backyard, and he's also defending it away from home. After his two defences in America, he signed up for the World Boxing Super Series. He fought Marco Huck. Marco Huck was a former long-reigning cruiserweight champion, and guess what? Aleksandar Usik fought Marco Huck in Germany, where Marco Huck resides, again defending his title on the road again. He then advances to the semi-finals of the World Boxing Super Series, taking on skillful cruiserweight Marat Gassiiev. He beats Bradis in Bradis' backyard in Riga, Latvia, again fighting away from home, doing things the hard way, being a road warrior, doing things that nobody else in boxing is doing right now. Let's be honest about it. Usyk is the only guy who's doing this. So I've got all the respect in the world for Aleksandar Usik, and he's going to fight Gassiev in Russia. You know, so all the credit in the world. So I do like Usyk. I like his style, and I really like his willingness to fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. It really is refreshing. I'm also a really big fan of Gassiev. Firstly, I love his style. He's really well versed. He can do a lot of different things, but ultimately he's a puncher who can box. Good jab, good straight punches, lovely body work. Really good footwork, great ability to cut the ring off. He's extremely calm, extremely poised, patient, and he's got wisdom beyond his years. He really does. You know, I mean, Gassiev is a guy who is 24 years old, and he didn't really have much of an amateur background. He is remarkably well advanced for somebody who didn't have any real type of amateur background. He really is. And a lot of people don't like to give Abel Sanchez credit. You know, we all know the work he's done with Golovkin, which is great. But his work with Gassiev has been awesome. Gassiev's improvements have really been impressive. You know, since he won his title against Denis Lebedev back in 2016, you can really see he's growing as a fighter, fight by fight. And the rate he's improving is quite scary, actually. So I'm also a massive fan of Gassiev. I actually prefer Gassiev's style to Usyk, I've got to say. But enough of my thoughts on both fighters. Let's talk about their records, their sort of dimensions, and how these two are going to match up. We'll start with Marat Gassiiev. He has a record of 26 wins, 0 defeats, 0 draws. 19 of those 26 wins coming by way of stoppage. Aleksandar Usik has a record of 14 wins, 0 defeats, 0 draws. 11 of those 14 wins coming by way of stoppage. So Gassiev has had more pro fights, but I don't think that is really going to be much of an advantage given how extensive Aleksandar Usyk's amateur background was. You know, I don't think that's going to play any part in this fight at all. In fact, maybe Usyk's more extensive amateur background could be something to look at in this fight. Let's talk about their dimensions quickly. Marat Gassiev is listed as 6'3.5" with a 76-inch reach, whereas Aleksandar Usik is listed as 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. So Gassiev is listed as half an inch taller, but Usyk actually has the reach advantage. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage on Marat Gassiev. So it's going to be interesting to see if Usyk tries to sort of make the most of that reach advantage and try and keep it long and try and outpoint Gassiev. It's going to be interesting to see if that's the way he's going to go in this fight. You know, when both of these guys match up, I feel both guys are multi-skilled. Neither one of these guys, in my opinion, are one-dimensional. You know, if you look back at both of these guys' last few fights, you know, they really have shown a lot. You know, Gassiev, for example, in the Wlodarczyk fight, he was really being that Gennady Golovkin type fighter people were talking about. He was walking Wlodarczyk down, working the body, and he got a brutal body punch knockout quite early in that fight. But in the Dorticos fight, he played it completely different. He boxed a very disciplined fight. He was boxing on the back foot quite a lot, walking Dorticos into big shots, working the body, and slowly dissecting Dorticos. Two completely different performances from Gassiev there. In the Lebedev fight, he was kind of mixing and matching. He started that fight quite aggressively. He dropped Lebedev. But, you know, in that fight, he was also trying to box. He was also looking for his counter shots. And he played it, you know, he boxed quite well in that fight also. So Gassiev has shown us different things. Gassiev, not only has he shown us he is quite, you know, he's got a few different tricks in the toolbox. He also has proven that, you know, he can take a shot. He's been caught clean by Lebedev, by Dorticos, you know, and he's taken these guys' power. So it's looking like Gassiev is tough as well. And as for Usyk again, you know, Usyk against Marco Huck, there were times when he was just circling Huck, peppering him with a jab, looking for those counter shots when Huck was coming in. But as that fight wore on, as Marco Huck was getting more and more desperate and more tired, you know, Usyk suddenly went on the front foot and took Marco Huck out. In the Briedis fight, there was a bit of everything. Sometimes Usyk was boxing on the back foot. There were times when Usyk would actually meet Briedis in the middle and trade on the inside and get the better of it. You know, we all know Usyk is a very talented fighter who has a variety of tools in the toolbox, and, you know, that's kind of expected with Usyk. But I think people are surprised with Gassiev's skill set all round. I actually feel both guys have the potential to give the other problems. Firstly, in regards to Usyk, one thing about Usyk, we know he maintains a good work rate. And Gassiev in the past has, you know, he's not a high output fighter, and there have been fights in the past where he kind of leaves you with the impression that he could be doing more. The biggest example of that to me was the Denis Lebedev fight. To me, he made that fight a lot closer than it should have been. When he was putting his foot down, he was really in control, and Lebedev was second best. But he let Lebedev get back into that fight by not throwing his hands enough, looking for too many power punches, and Lebedev was kind of point scoring, and he won some rounds against Gassiev, and that made it closer than it should have been. And this is something that, you know, I feel that Gassiev does just generally, you know, even against Dorticos. You know, there are rounds in that fight where, yes, he was being responsible against a big puncher, but he could have been a bit more active in that fight, you know, because that fight was relatively close as well, on the cards anyway. So I feel that Usyk's output and Gassiev's lack of output could be a interesting factor. I feel, especially early on in the fight, I think Usyk will pile up rounds. I feel that his speed, both hand and foot, will give Gassiev some issues. You know, Gassiev's not slow by any means, but, you know, he's not as quick as Usyk, especially with his feet. So in the first few rounds, I could see Usyk building up a bit of a lead, you know, like the first 2 or 3 rounds, just based on activity. He'll be throwing those combinations, jumping in and out. You know, Gassiev's going to be looking to counter. He's going to be looking to land that big left hook. But I feel in the first few rounds, he's probably going to fall short, and Usyk is going to build up a point lead. But when the fight settles down after 3 or 4 rounds, I think that Gassiev is slowly going to come back into it. Usyk's feet are going to slow ever so slightly, and, you know, Gassiev is going to start to close the range a little bit more. He's going to start sinking into the body. He's going to start to try and slow Usyk down. As the fight wears on, I think you're going to see Usyk actually stand in the pocket more and more. And I feel that's when it gets dangerous for Usyk. Usyk in the pocket, you know, he does get hit. We saw that against Briedis. We saw that against Michael Hunter. You know, when Usyk is flat-footed and trading, he does get hit, which is part and parcel of boxing, right? But, you know, Usyk, there are quite a lot of moments in his career in fights where he does kind of just sit in the pocket and trade, where he does actually try and let his hands go and get some respect. And in these moments, he does get hit. And to me, Gassiev, out of everybody Usyk's fought, has the best timing. And, Usyk does jump in sometimes with his chin up. He does leave himself open at times in the exchanges. If Gassiev could get his timing right and use that left hook, it could end in catastrophic consequences for Usyk. It really could. To me, Gassiev has the power to knock anybody out at cruiserweight when he connects right. He really does. I felt Briedis was actually starting to get to Usyk ever so slightly. Not saying he really hurt him, but he did look buzzed a few times here and there. So I'm sure Gassiev can get it to Usyk. So Usyk can't be silly on the inside. He can't trade needlessly. He needs to get in, get his work done and get out. Don't give Gassiev a chance to set and throw that left hook. Usyk can't afford to hold his feet too long against Gassiev. He really can't, because he will get hurt if he takes too many chances. But on the inside, I do actually feel Usyk can get the better of Gassiev. It's just how long he stays on the inside. That's the issue to me. If he sort of goes in and out and gets his work done and jumps out, he could actually get the better of Gassiev on the inside, because Usyk, he does punch at crazy angles at times. He has got far superior hand speed to Gassiev. He's very athletic. He could get in and out and do a job on Gassiev on the inside. But, I've seen most of Usyk's fights now. And in most of his fights, when he's on the inside, he does stay there sometimes a little too long. And it's these moments where Gassiev is going to have a lot of opportunities to time Usyk with big shots. I feel that Usyk's best chance in this fight is to keep it long, is to utilise his superior reach, his superior foot speed, and his superior hand speed, and pick up the points behind that jab and make Gassiev chase the fight. Gassiev is a good pressure fighter. He does cut the ring off well, but I don't think Gassiev is the best at punching on the front foot. That's an extremely hard skill to master. Gennady Golovkin does it very well with shifting. Gassiev can do it, but he doesn't do it to that standard. He's getting better at it, but he just doesn't do it to that Golovkin standard just yet. So if Usyk could keep mobile, if he could keep peppering Gassiev with the jab and the straight punches, and keep turning Gassiev and making himself an elusive target, and making Gassiev chase the fight, I feel that Usyk will definitely come out on top in that occasion. But doing that for 12 rounds against someone like Gassiev is extremely hard work, especially given how Usyk fights. He likes to fight bouncing on his toes. He uses a lot of energy in that style. And I think that's why he has moments in fights where he is actually flat-footed. It's actually kind of a break for him, because if you look at his feet, they're constantly moving. He's bouncing on the balls of his feet. He's really utilising a lot of energy there. So that's probably why he is flat-footed at times. And it's in those moments I worry for Usyk, because when he's boxing, when he's utilising his foot movement and his foot speed, I think he's going to get the better of Gassiev. But I feel as the fight wears on, that's when Usyk is going to run into trouble. Gassiev is a very patient fighter. He's not high output. He carries his power from first to last round. I feel Usyk is going to tire in this fight. When he tires is when he's going to start making mistakes. That's when he's going to start to give Gassiev opportunities. I'm going to predict a Gassiev late round knockout of Usyk. I think Usyk is going to be up on the cards at the time, but I feel that Gassiev is going to get to him. I think he's going to play a cat and mouse type game, and he's going to catch Usyk towards the end. Not a confident pick. I wouldn't put money on it. I really wouldn't. But I'm going to go with a Gassiev's late stoppage. That's my opinion. It's really hard to call. I've been back and forth on this fight. Some days I thought to myself, I think Usyk, his variety, his foot and hand speed, his superior amateur background could prove to be too much for Gassiev. But, you can't ignore Gassiev's power. You can't ignore the rate of Gassiev's improvements. You really can't. So it's a hard fight to call. But we're going to settle on a Gassiev stoppage win here. What do you guys think? Peace.